Hey everyone, how's it going? Thanks so much for tuning in. It's finally time to start diving back into the Monte Carlo SS. I want to get this build wrapped up in the near future, and to do that, there's still a few big ticket items that I need to cross off the list, including the main focus of this video, which is going to be swapping in a manual transmission. I'm so excited about this, not just because I love driving manuals, but because these cars were never offered with the option of a manual from the factory, so it's going to be pretty unique. I've got a world-class T5 that's going to go in place of the original 200R4 automatic. I've also got a manual transmission swap kit from Pro Touring Products and a new clutch kit, flywheel, and slave cylinder from O'Reilly Auto Parts. I've got links to all of these different parts down in the description box below if you guys would like to check all of that out. It's been a while since I've put out any content on this car, so if you're relatively new to the channel or just would like a refresher on the build as a whole, I've got the entire build playlist down in the description below. Truth be told, this has not been an easy project for me from the get-go. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because I was trying to rush to get a certain amount of content out or whatever, but I just kept meeting roadblocks the entire way, and sometimes that's just how it is with projects. But I finally got everything all dialed in. I made custom power steering lines. That was one thing I was fighting, and I was taking the car on its big test drive, and everything was going really well. And then all of a sudden, like a James Bond-like smoke cloud starts pouring out behind me, and I'm like, what the heck? So I pulled over and went underneath the car, and the transmission was gushing fluid. I can only assume it's like the torque converter input seal or something, but at that point I was like, you know what, forget this. I don't have time for this. I got so many other videos and things that I need to be working on, so I parked the car. It sat for probably 6 or more months or so. I can't remember exactly, but it's long overdue to give this car some love once again, and now that I've finished the K1500 project, I've got the first bit of content on that IROC Z over there. I want to get this finished because I've got some new content that's planned and in the works and whatnot, and I have got to make some room. So we're going to ditch the automatic and make this a manual. It's going to be so much fun. And yeah, I just appreciate all of you who have supported this series so far, and for all of your patience and in waiting for new content. I think it's going to be really worth it. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. It's just as I was figuring, the torque converter input seal. This seal around the input shaft has actually popped out about 1/8 of an inch. So when this thing got going, it just started dumping fluid right out the front. So it's a pretty easy thing to fix. So I'll probably just put a new seal in it. The transmission is in good shape otherwise, so probably end up just selling it. I'll tell you guys what, this has not been without its difficulties, not just with trying to muscle that transmission in and lining up all the splines and whatnot, but I ended up ordering the wrong flywheel. The link in the description box below is the correct one. I didn't realize there was a difference between small blocks with a one-piece rear main seal versus a two-piece rear main seal. So this is a two-piece rear main motor, so I had to just exchange it out at O'Reilly for the right one, so no big deal. I was actually able to reuse my Holley automatic transmission cross member. I just moved it forward, drilled some new holes, bolted it in place, and I was able to reuse my polyurethane transmission mount, which is sweet. The other thing that I'm working on is a proximity issue between the external slave cylinder and the driver's side header. I was able to physically get everything mounted, so transmission's connected to the motor, it's connected to the cross member's on the frame rail, so physically it's all together, which is awesome. But when it comes to mounting that slave cylinder, I might have to get a little bit creative. I'm not sure yet, but all in all, so far so good. It's been a lot. I'm a little worn out. I ended up having to order one more conversion fitting that I was missing. I'm using all AN stuff, and the clutch line that I'm using is a braided stainless steel. It's a -3 size, but the fitting on the slave cylinder that I have is a -4, so I need a reducer, coupling or adapter, whatever you want to call it. So while I have that on order, I'm going to tackle another big ticket item on my list, and that's putting the correct tailpipe kit on this car. I don't know if you guys remember, when I first got this car, I installed a full Hooker exhaust system with long tube headers, and it sounds really good. But the tip style that came with the kit were the side exit, like that's common on other G bodies and whatnot. But on the Monte Carlo SS, they're supposed to go straight out the back of the car, and they were on back order. I got them a while back, so now let's go ahead and get it set up properly. I just want to give a big shout out to Bernie over at Pro Touring Products. This isn't a sponsored deal or anything like that. I just am really impressed with how all of this stuff came together, and he was super helpful with getting me exactly the right kit and adapter fittings for this application, so I really appreciate it. I mean, the whole kit has just gone together spectacularly, from the custom bracket that goes on the back of the brake booster where the clutch master bolts to the clutch pedal assembly, and how it just literally installs into the existing G-body pedal assembly with little modification, cutting down the wide brake pedal. I mean, that's really it. Attach all the hardware, make a little hole in the firewall, start plumbing things up and whatnot. The hardest thing legitimately is just shoehorning the transmission up in there. So this has been awesome, and I can't wait to hit the road. Well, everyone, it's finally time to take this thing for a test drive, so let's go ahead and fire it up. Being that it's been so long since I've had any videos out on this car, I'll get a few sound clips too. All right, everyone, here we go. Holy cow, that's fun. I just can't believe these were never offered with manuals from the factory. It's so much more fun. Clutch feels good. Shifter feels good. Transmission is awesome. So there were a few little headaches in the way that I had to kind of figure out. Had nothing to do with the swap kit, just, you know, physical clearance issues and stuff like that. Because I used a world-class T5 out of a 3rd gen Camaro, it has that external slave cylinder on the side, and the housing that the slave cylinder bolts onto actually hit my long tube headers. So fortunately, I was able to just, you know, lob a little bit of that housing off to make enough clearance, so no issue there. It went into place, and I ended up wrapping my headers at the same time just to protect the slave cylinder from the extra heat. I've driven this car so far a little over 100 miles. I've been about an hour down the highway. I haven't had any heat issues, no issues with pedal feel or clutch engagement or anything like that. So I'm very, very thankful it worked out the way it did. The other thing too, the starter that I originally had on this motor would not work with this transmission. Come to find out, I was doing a little bit of digging on 3rd gen Camaros, and between an automatic transmission and a manual transmission, the starters are a little bit different. Like, they're just shaped a bit different where they actually go into the bell housing. So I had to run back to O'Reilly, get a different starter, and you know, it was pretty simple for that. The other thing I had to do was get my drive shaft shortened. The T5 that I used is a little bit longer than the 200R4, and yeah, so I just took it to a local drive shaft shop. They cut it down, put new U-joints in it, repainted it. Looks awesome. Like I said, I was able to use the Holley transmission cross member with a little bit of modification. So all in all, it was a relatively straightforward process. Just, you know, making a little bit of notch in the firewall for the master cylinder, which I ended up upgrading to an adjustable master cylinder, or one that had an adjustable push rod so I could get the pedal positioning exactly where I wanted it. Trying to think if there was anything else. Oh, the other thing that I did notice, there's a little timed relay on the very upper portion of the factory fuse box that was coming in contact with the clutch pedal. I ended up making a jumper harness to basically relocate that relay up into the dash. So the defrost will still work just fine. The relay is just in a different position than it was before. But man, oh man, especially being that this car has 373 gears from the factory, it feels like it takes off so much quicker than it did before. Like, I mean, it's not gonna set any records or anything like that, but I feel like I'm actually able to use all of the power this motor is capable of putting out with all of the upgrades that I ended up doing in the process. So I am very, very thrilled with this. Probably the best thing I did to this car, hands down. I still have to modify my center console. I'm gonna make the factory center console work and put a shift boot and stuff like that, which I'll save that when I finish the interior restoration, which I'm gonna start into that pretty soon, depending on, you know, scheduling with some of the other builds and my reviews that I have coming up. But yeah, I'm trying to think, you know, all in all, I've got all of the parts list, you know, down in the description box below. So if anybody watching this video has got the fire lit to do something or to do this to their car, you know, I'd be happy to answer questions down in the comments below. Check out all the links, get your parts, and have some fun. I mean, it just feels really good. Well everyone, that's going to wrap it up for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. Please don't forget to leave a like down below because it really helps the videos a lot. And if you haven't subscribed already, consider doing so. I've got a lot more project content and car reviews on the way. Also, double check that your notification bell is selected so you get properly notified of all of the new uploads. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.